So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. We'll run until 11:20. If you have any questions, please go ahead and type those into the chat, and then Jane will have an opportunity to answer those questions. And then after Jane's done her overview, if you would like to answer a question, just go ahead and unmute yourself and feel welcome to ask. Great, Jane, so I'll turn it over to you to get started.
Thank you, Rhett. Thank you, everyone, for being here this morning. Zenith is a workers' compensation carrier that is a multi-state specialty workers' comp company. We're very happy to have a newly established relationship with Insurers Indemnity. We hope this helps you bring revenue to your agency and new business to your agency. Next slide. We offer a broad list of class codes. Some of them, examples of them are listed here. We do artisan contractors of all kinds. Our top 3 classes are electricians, plumbers, and HVAC contractors. We do auto services, including auto dealerships, motorcycle dealerships, both new and used autos. And we also do auto services such as brake shops, lube shops, collision centers. We do many, many churches, also hotels, restaurants, and hospitality type risk. Lawn maintenance, which is another one of our top class codes in the contracting space, and country clubs, fishing clubs, golf clubs. All of these are examples of some of the classes of business that we write, but we're also known as a low to moderate hazard carrier. So most class codes in the low to moderate hazard range are class codes we can consider. Like most carriers, the more premium, the more willing we may be able to take on some severity risk. And as a company, we've been known for years.
Looks like, Jane, we may have lost you there for a second. Let me send Jane a quick note. I think that is one of the challenges of web conferencing. When everyone else is web conferencing, sometimes the bandwidth can be a bit of a challenge. So I've just sent Jane a quick note, and she should be jumping back on here in just a second.
Hello, Rhett.
Hey, Jane. Okay, I think you're back. We can hear you.
Okay, I apologize for those technical difficulties. I think we were talking about the class codes that Zenith writes. And I was saying that we're a low to moderate hazard carrier. Some of the things we don't do are trucking, accounts that are working on highways, bridge builders, things like that with high severity. We don't do stuff with heights exposure like window washers on high-rise buildings, but we do almost any class code in the low to moderate hazard range. So for everyone that has video, could you go to the next slide that talks about the safety groups? Are you there?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay. Are y'all looking at the safety group slide?
Yes, we are.
Okay, perfect. So like other carriers in Texas, Zenith has developed safety groups to offer special rates for different industry groups and to be more competitive on the types of business that we really want to write. We have 6 open safety groups, which are listed there on the slide. All of those groups are truly open, and that means any agent in the state can submit business into the group. One thing that differs about our groups compared to some of our competitors is that our groups don't have a membership fee or an association membership requirement, with the exception of the one listed first, which is the Texas Hotel and Lodging Association. We are the endorsed carrier for the Hotel and Lodging Association in Texas. So that group does require the policyholder to join the Hotel and Lodging Association. However, the premium discount and the dividend are usually way more than enough to offset the membership fee for joining that. And I want to point out that the other groups, the restaurant group, the religious group, the contractor group, auto service group, and medical group, do not have a membership association requirement. Like some of our competitors, our groups have dividend potential and have a really good record of paying dividends. And those dividends are paid if the company itself is successful and the board of directors approves it, just like all the competitors, but they're paid 60 days prior to the renewal of the account, and all of the dividends are hand delivered to the agents to give to the customers. So that's one thing that's really nice about it. And we also have other dividend plans outside of the safety groups. In Texas, our dividend is filed at $100,000 premium and up, and it's a sliding scale dividend plan. A sliding scale dividend plan is a very transparent dividend plan where the quote comes with a chart that shows what the dividend payout will be for the various loss ratios. And that dividend gets richer as the premium gets higher. And that's very, very popular in the car dealership space and in the senior living space. We have a lot of clients that really enjoy those sliding scale dividends, and it is a good retention tool for us, and it's a good selling tool for you agents. Can you go to the next slide? Are you on the next slide?
Yes, ma'am.
We're on the next slide.
Okay, thank you. Other key information. As a carrier, we're very willing to look at new ventures and no priors. And that's a space where we can usually be very competitive. All carriers have an upcharge for no prior coverage or for a new venture. However, our upcharge, many cases, is not as high as the competition. So I know I've won lots of medical offices that have maybe been operating for several years but have never bought comp when their agent submits to Zenith versus the other carriers in the state. Because our upcharge for no prior coverage is lower, we're very competitive on that. We can put them in the safety group. They get the higher premium discount, then they get the dividend, and it's a very competitive program. For accounts that have prior coverage, we do require 3 years worth of loss runs. And it says on the slide to get the most competitive terms. Most of the time we require it just to do a quote or after binding. It kind of depends on the circumstances of the account. But just be mindful of when you submit business online, when Samantha submits it online for you, it's considered a signed statement of losses. So if we were not presented loss runs at the time of the quote, and then we find out later that there were losses, the quote may not be valid. We also require experience modifier worksheets. That's consistent with the rest of the market. Many of you know that there wouldn't be an experience modifier unless the account is over $5,000 premium and has been in business for a couple of years. So the experience modifier worksheets, sometimes people send us that instead of the loss runs if they don't have the loss runs. While it is a good, credible way to see what the loss trends have been, it is not the same as a loss run. Sometimes the underwriters can take that information, but if there are open claims on the modifier worksheet, they'll often ask for the loss runs as well. As I mentioned on the slide, we do have competitive commissions for new business and renewals. You as agents with insurer's indemnity are taking a 70% split on the commission that we're paying, and we pay 15% new business and 12% renewal commission on accounts up to $25,000 premium. So that is, even with your split, you're getting a little more than the rest of the market is paying. except for some wild promotions that are out there for certain classes that come and go. This should be right in line with what you're getting everywhere else and maybe a little bit above. On business over $25,000 premium, we pay 10% new and 10% renewal. So when you split that with your MGA, you'll be getting 7%. We have several payment plans available, and they're all very flexible. We have reporting form available, such as monthly or quarterly. Like many carriers in the market, that's very popular in the contractor space. Then we have a pay-as-you-go program called Smart Pay for accounts that have payroll service that wants to report and pay their premium on their behalf. As long as it's a payroll vendor we work with, then it could be a good match there. We also have payment plans as low as 5% down with 10 installments. We have a 15% down with 9 installments. We have a quarterly, a semi-annual, or of course we'll do pay in full, and you guys can finance it with Roadrunner Premium. If you're working with insurer's indemnity on some property and GL coverage and you want to just wrap the work comp into the same premium finance note, you can do that with Zenith Workers Comp. Submissions via Accord applications need to be sent to Samantha over at Insurers Indemnity. Her email address is there. And we require the Accord app and 3 years worth of loss runs, the mod worksheet. And I want to stress that we would really like to have a description of operations with the account. As you know, work comp in Texas, usually it's by class code, and many carriers just look at the class code and rate the account. However, sometimes it's as important to talk about what the account doesn't do as much as what they do. As an example, for restaurants in Texas, the class code for Texas Workers Comp is 9079. That class code gets a blended rate for every kind of restaurant in Texas, and it includes delivery drivers at restaurants. It includes cooks and waitresses and hostesses. It includes managers. It also is good for sandwich shops such as Subway and mom and pop sandwich shops, and fine dining restaurants, casual dining restaurants, even all the way up to bars with bouncers. By the way, we might consider some bars, but if they're open past 2 a.m. or have a bouncer, that's probably not a Zenith account. But that blended rate for the class code for restaurants includes a lot of things, or a lot of different operations in it. So your description of operations that comes on your application or on a separate document that's sent over to Samantha, it's very important for the underwriter to underwrite the account. As an example, a sandwich deli that has delivery is a kind of a heavier risk than a sandwich deli that only does cash and carry or dine in. Therefore, if it's just dine in, there's probably a credit off the rate, whereas if they do some delivery, it's a heavier risk. They might not get as much credit. But always include your description of operations so the underwriter can do his evaluation. With that, that concludes my presentation on Zenith. Do you all have any questions for me?
I think, Mike, you had a question in chat.
I just thought it would be beneficial if you went over some of your scenarios when a pre-inspection might be required for a quote.
Yes. Oh, and I think that ties into a question someone sent in early about the lead time for quoting.
Yes.
Yes, the question someone sent in about the lead time for quoting. Our service standard for business under 25,000 premium is 48 business hours. So when you send it to Samantha and she sends it to us, that's 2 business days. often we can turn things a lot more quickly than that. I see most of them go out same business day if they're complete. So that's why it's really important to have a complete submission. Now, business over 25,000 and all the way up to the millions, well, it depends on the account, how quickly we can turn it around. I usually tell people 2 weeks minimum. Business over 100,000 premium usually needs to have a safety and health inspection prior to quoting. That safety and health inspection might be physical or it may be telephonic, but because of the coordination of someone in safety having to schedule with the customer and then schedule around the customer schedule and his or her own schedule, it just takes a little more lead time. And in accounts that are more complex, there may be approval levels to go through in the underwriting management side. So I ask for 2 weeks as a minimum. Probably most of the time when you're working accounts in your office that are your own renewal book, you're working them way more in advance than that. But every now and then you get a new business opportunity and it comes last minute. We certainly know that. I can think of a lot of examples of times where we've turned quotes more quickly than 2 weeks, but I'm going to ask for 2 weeks as a minimum for most things, and then call us when you need an exception, and we'll do our best.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Do we have any other questions? If you would like to ask a question, just go ahead and unmute yourself and feel welcome to put that question to Jane. Okay, Jane, it looks like we don't have any other questions, so we'll go ahead and conclude the web conference today. We will send out a copy of the slides to everyone that registered, and then a recording of this web conference will be up on our agent dashboard by the end of the week. So thank you all for participating in the conference today. Jane, thank you very much for being willing to present and going over what Zenith has to offer. I think that you do write some really good classes, and in particular for our general agency, the contractor class is an attractive class. So we look forward to seeing some good workers' comp submissions and being able to offer a good market to our agents. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. Bye all. Thank you for being on the call.
Thanks.